and avoiding becoming a victim of material condition and being aware of our basic defects. In human society, in its arrogance now, has dismissed the human defects. We don't cheat. We've got things worked out. We've got the best. You may have the best telescope, but you've still got a defective eye. So it doesn't really make any difference, does it? You could put all the telescopes together and have a 15-mile telescope, but you've still got a defective eye. So all you're going to see is the imperfections that you're seeing anyway with the eye. And then they don't even take into account what are you seeing it with? What's the consciousness that you're seeing the material energy with? Is that defective? Are you cheating? Do you have a vested image in how you want to see something, so that you see something in a certain way because that's going to suit because the demonic mentality, the reason they find it so hard to see that there's God is because they've already invested in a plan where he can't be in that, you see. So it's going to threaten everything. So therefore they don't want to recognize. Bhaktisiddhanta said an atheist cannot see God anywhere, and a devotee can see God everywhere. And if you're chanting nicely, then you can see Krishna speaking to you. You can recognize the dialogue, the signs, the indications that Krishna is giving you to teach you particular things that you need to learn. Krishna is talking to us through the books. You can read something in the book and then you pick it down and you pick a different book up and the same point comes up. And you put it down and you pick up another book and the same point comes up. And you sit there in class and the same point comes up and then you think Krishna's going to tell me something. So the nicer that you chant, the more clearly that you can hear with focus and with depth and emotion, sincere emotion, then the more tuned you'll be to what Krishna's telling you, They cannot do anything useful. They're cheating and building up large sums of money. So one has to find a person transcendental to the four basic defects. So that's why it's so valuable to read and listen and look at Srila Prabhupada and see somebody who's free from those four defects. And we know a lot of people come to Karuna Bhavan Eco Farm, and a lot of people go because they kind of skim along the surface, but unless you read Srila Prabhupada's books, it just stays on the surface. If you want to go deep into Krishna consciousness, you need his association, which you get from reading the books. So it's very, very. Somebody was saying to me the other day, "Well, I just want to keep it simple, Just Krishna's God, and that's all I need to know, really." Well, actually, Srila Prabhupada did say that my books are just word juggery to convince you to chant. So, because he was being humble as well. But the thing is, if you pick up your bead bag with some very strong conviction, then you've assimilated the information properly. But if you don't feel very enthusiastic to chant Hare Krishna, then you need to read a few more books. Faith and knowledge. Faith. You can have knowledge, and then you have to have faith in the knowledge so that you implement. And that's confidence. Confidence comes from that faith. And then realization comes when you put it into practice and it works, and then you realize, okay, this is good, it works.
Just a quick question regarding reading. So I quite often have felt like, even if it's not like a conscious prayer in words, there's a feeling, and then I'm just hoping for some guidance. And that's tended to be the way that I've dipped into lots of books at the same time and read a bit here and a bit there. would you say that it's better to just like pick a book and read it cover to cover?
Well, Sri Ramanuja explains in Srimad Bhakti Chintamani about how a devotee progresses from Kanishta, Majjhima, and eventually to Uttama Adhikari. So when one becomes very advanced, then he can specialize in a particular aspect of Krishna's pastimes that he's attracted to, and that becomes specific reading. But in the beginning stages, it's systematic reading. And Srila Prabhupada's laid it out canto to gradually bring you up and explain things more confidential. We're in the 5th canto right now, so things are starting to get quite deep, and then they just get deeper and deeper. Bhagavad Gita is the, you see, if you read the Bhagavatam systematically, then that's fine, and then you get to the 10th canto, and that's fine, because by that time you've substantiated an awareness that Krishna is an ordinary person. And then with Bhagavad Gita, chapter by chapter, the middle 6 chapters are the essential part of the Gita. The first 6 are like the shell, and the last 6 are like the shell, and the 6 in the middle are like the cherry syrup. But again, we go through it systematically. First chapter, then the second, then the third, and then back again like that. And then Chaitanya Charitamrita is the postgraduate study. But again, if you're reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita and you're going chapter by chapter and you're reading the purports as well, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, I shouldn't really be writing this down because it will be misunderstood by fools and rascals. But then he says, but then the fools and rascals won't understand it anyway, so I don't have to worry. Because of their mundane vision, they'll just be disqualified from entering into what's really going on anyway. So. But yes, systematically. And we may, at times, even when we're going systematically through it, it may be something that we read 1,000,000 times and something we read it, and on that day, it means something else. Or we understand that what we thought it meant isn't what it meant at all. And we start to realize, okay, so that's really what it meant, you know. And one of the big problems with reading is when you're reading, there's a tendency, being as we are, we do have the 4 defects, there's a tendency to see how this applies to everybody else. And you're thinking, okay, I should show that devotee that, look at that. Yeah. It's saying he should be clean. Have you seen the state of his room? I'm going to be in class tomorrow, and I'm going to read that to him. It's like Father O'Brien. He was saying the 10 Commandments because he thought the Simpsons had stolen his bike. And he says, I'm going to look at them. When I say thou shalt not steal, I'm going to look at them. And they'll be squirming, and I'll know it was them. And his friend said the next day, he said, did you do the sermon? He said, yeah. He said, did you find your bike? He said, I did. Yeah. He said, actually, when I got to thou shalt not commit adultery, I remembered where I put it. So we have to be applying the books to ourselves. We have to be applying the books to ourselves, and it's self-realization. We've got to work ourselves out. If we can get aligned, then we can help. We can be really compassionate and well-intentioned toward everybody else. So don't worry about trying to fix anybody else. You're a fallen soul, conditioned soul. You have a relationship with Krishna and you can't remember what it is. So that's a big problem. We're in a dream and we know we're in the dream now and we're trying to wake up. It's like lucid. You ever done lucid dreaming? You wake up in the dream and you know it's a dream, but you can't remember who you are. So it's kind of like a problem because you know everything around you isn't really real. So you're not taking it as seriously as the people in the dream are. But at the same time, you don't really know where you belong or where you've come from, you see. So the books help us to, they refresh our memory. We have amnesia. And the pictures, the paintings as well. There's a beautiful painting I was just looking at the other day. It's painted by Dhriti. And it's baby Krishna on the Yashoda's lap. And it's really, really beautiful, really, really amazing. So that's a huge leap for people in general, even to believe there's a God, and that the God is a person, and then the God has a form, and then the God has a mother, and this is what he looks like. That's a huge, huge leap, But for us, we're becoming more familiar with that, and it's starting to feel more natural, like this is home, this is where I belong, this is where I've come from, this is where I want to get back to. So conditioning is, Mahaprabhu was making a nice point actually. He was saying that if you're chanting at least Namabhas, then you become freer from the lower modes of nature. He says a lot of the disciples that he is dealing with, or just devotees in general, he's trying to help that have got problems. A lot of their problems are pertaining to the lower modes of material nature, indicating that their japa must be Namaparad and not Namabhas. Namaparad, then you're going to be struggling with the lower modes of nature. If you're at the clearing stage, if you're trying to chant with every ounce, every fiber of your existence, then you're Namabhas, then you become free from passion and ignorance. So you're at least leading a sattvic lifestyle, just if you're just chanting properly. So that's the challenge. It generally takes me about an hour to get anywhere near the cherry syrup in the mantra. Mahatma was explaining the mantra is like a lozenge, and there's cherry syrup in the middle. So if you suck in the lozenge properly, then you get to the cherry syrup. So sometimes I think what happens with devotees is they're trying to be attentive, and they're maybe a little bit attentive, and then the mind wanders, and they bring it back, and it wanders, and then they go, and then they just let it go. 2 hours, just 15 minutes to go. So you have to be determined to keep pushing. No, I'm going to keep trying. No. And it's like, no, this is impossible. You can't do it. The mind's saying it's impossible. After about an hour, the mind says, okay. You want to, okay. And then you finally get the mind to chant with you. I remember the devotee saying that to me. He said it's actually quite easy to chant. He said, it's not easy to get the mind to chant with you. It's like a really, really naughty boy. Come on, we're going to chant. Nah. Like the genie, right? The genie in the Maha Mantra. Nah. Chant Hare Krishna. No, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. And then finally when the genie does do it, I say, wow, this is really good, Why didn't you tell me to do this before? So you have to be patient and treat the child treat the mind like a loving parent. No, come on now, don't be silly. We don't want to be thinking about that. It's japa now, we're chanting Hare Krishna now. Nah, stop thinking that's very naughty. You shouldn't be thinking that at all. Come on, Hare Krishna. ISKCON Guru in the key. Srila Prabhupada key. Go Premanandi. Hari Hari Bo. Go Bhakti.